Rise and Shine with Robbo and Becci on Vision.
Well, we're joined on the phone this morning by Frank Vessey, talking, and looking into how we can be a bit safer with all these hacks that are happening. So good morning, Frank.
Yeah, good morning, Becci. Good morning, Robbo. Mate, I tell you what, the way they're coming along, these hacks and that, it's almost becoming a common thing every day.
Unfortunately, it's been very common in the news the last few weeks. We've heard, and I mean, obviously some major ones, Optus and Medibank, which were, millions of their customers have been impacted. So that's obviously concerning. And in some respects, there's not much you can do about Optus getting hacked, but there are obviously things we can do to protect ourselves, to protect our data. What are some suggestions that you've got? Well,
one of the major things that I suggest people do, that is to go to the Australian Cyber Security Centre, which is cyber.gov.au, or you can even ring them on 1300 Cyber 1, and there you'll find a whole pile of recent hacks, big ones and that, and you can sort of keep up with those sort of things, but probably on a personal basis, don't access personal or financial data with public Wi-Fi. It's only use a secure connection, because I always switch off flight mode on my phones just to try and avoid things like that. Also, turn off anything that you don't need. Instead of keeping your GPS, wireless connection and geo-tracking on all the time, only turn them on when you need them. Also, one of the things everyone says to everybody, and that is use trustworthy sites, particularly when you choose apps. Make sure you update your software there too, because apps regularly change, and hackers go right for it if you haven't updated them. Get rid of any old ones you're not using. I think the one for COVID, the government one, that's not being used anymore, so get rid of that.
Yep.
And they suggest you use a password, a lock code or an encryption. Passwords at least 8 characters long with a mix of upper and lower case, and never use the autocomplete feature for passwords. That's one thing that, it's a big no-no. Don't use that auto thing. Be skeptical too about links and attachments. If you're not sure about the source, don't use the link or open an attachment. I always say, if you don't know it, delete it. I got one the other day from MyGov, believe it or not. Apparently, I've got some money coming from MyGov, which I didn't even know. So I just deleted that straight away, because I know I haven't any money coming from MyGov.
Yeah, that's right.
But they're getting craftier and craftier.
That's
the
right.
other night, I got my name, a text message with my name spelt right, which is, I spell it, Becci, very differently than anyone else does. And they said they were from my bank, and it was the right bank. But actually it was a dodgy link, and if I'd have put my password in, it would have been over. So they're very, very crafty with what they can get, aren't they?
Yes, they certainly are. They're becoming more inventive, more creative every day. But on a device basis, you've got to use a firewall, install antivirus software, install an anti-spyware package if you can, use complex passwords. I mean, I tell you what, it's like going back to school again. Your operating system has to be up to date, as well as your apps and your browser. That was one of the things I found when I went to the Cyber Security Centre's site, that there's been a problem with Monterey on the Macs, and particularly for an older Mac that doesn't have the M1 chip, and mine wasn't updating for some reason. Suddenly I thought, oh, hang on, I've got a problem here. But it turned out it was just a bit of a hiccup, and just turn the machine off and turn it back on again. Passwords are good. I was very, very smart one time. I thought, now I'll teach these people if they're, following my imprint on the keyboard, trying to learn my password. I'll put a false one in, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't get onto the site. You got to ignore spam. There's heaps of that coming out. Back your computer up all the time. And when you're not using your computer, shut it down. One of the things I read somewhere was that if you think your computer's been hacked, when you're using it, you can tell, apparently. Just quickly rip the plug out of the wall and shut it down.
Okay.
Because if your computer's not working, nothing works.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Now, look, some really good tips in there. And I think the big thing is passwords, isn't it? I mean, obviously, we're all guilty of using the same password on multiple different sites. You need to be more diligent with that these days and change the password. And you mentioned having like a password manager. I mean, that's really the only way you can do it without having the same password. But I think we do need to be more diligent than what we ever were, don't we, Frank? I mean, these days, as Becky was saying, the hackers are getting more sophisticated. They're getting more crafty. So we need to be more diligent with it. But some really good points in there that you make, different things that we can do, fairly simple things, but they can make a huge difference.
They certainly can. And like you said at the start, we can't help companies that get hacked and things like that. I think there was an item the other day saying that some of the government departments have been hacked now, some of the low stuff. But one of the things that you can be assured of is that 95% of all people that use devices are going to get hacked. And that's a rather sad fact.
Yeah, that's very concerning.
That is very sad.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the reminder on some of those things, some simple things. What was the website again that people can go to?
The Australian Cyber Security Centre, which is cyber.gov.au, or if you've got a concern and you don't want to use your computer to access them, you can ring 1300 Cyber 1. Okay, 1300 Cyber 1. Well, thanks, Frank, for that info and the great tips that you've shared today. Really appreciate your time. No worries at all. Thank you for calling.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.